Did you actually have some time where you didn't think about Bitcoin? Because you never.
Peter, I always think about Bitcoin.
You know, when it comes to Christmas or Thanksgiving with the Americans, they're always like saying how they're going to talk to everyone about Bitcoin. I never have that with my family.
That you talk to them about it?
No, not at Christmas. I don't want to ruin their Christmas.
I don't talk about it, but I'm thinking about it. And every time you're having a conversation, you know, one of my best presents was from my son-in-law or to-be son-in-law, or maybe to-be son-in-law, about the need for public debt. And it was at that point I realised I probably have gone over the top trying to orange pill them.
Why is there a need for public debt?
Well, I ask you. It's 274 pages. I'm on page 4. I've got a long way to go, but apparently there's 4 people who think there's a need for ever-growing public debt. I'll let you know.
Hold on. Our white paper was 9 pages long that solves the entire financial system. I think 1 page of that was citations as well.
And written by one person.
Yes. So it's 274 pages. That sounds like someone's trying to rationalise bullshit.
Who knows? I mean, it's got this much section of notes and acknowledgements at the end. But anyway.
I'll tell you why we don't need public debt. Because of interest. We spend more, I don't know if you know about this, but we spend more on debt interest in the UK than we spend on education.
And it shows.
Yes. Yeah. So,
it shows.
So whoever this is, please tell me why we need public debt. I was all on my own Christmas Day.
Oh, that is actually, I saw a picture on, was that with your dinner that you tweeted out? But did you love it?
I loved it. So what happens is me and my ex-wife, the way we do it, rather than split Christmas Day, we swap every year. So she's 1 year and then I'm the next. And the first time we ever did it, when I didn't have the kids, my brother invited me up. So I went up to his and I just sat and watched his kids open presents. I was like, this is crap. And so this year, I was all on my own. Obviously, lots of people were like, oh, this sounds so sad. Come and have lunch with us. I was like, no. You
watched Die Hard.
No. I got up. I went down the pub. I had 2 pints with my neighbour. I took 3 plates over. Yeah. They gave me 3 plates of food. I put them in front of the TV with a bottle of wine, watched Die Hard and passed out. It was brilliant.
Perfect.
Lovely.
I actually spent 5 hours on my own on the Downs. So my parents live in Eastbourne. Normally I live in Germany. But I spend quite a lot of time in Eastbourne and it's just my energy tanking place. If you're in a place like that, all is good with the world.
Yeah. I went for a long walk Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
So you're from the UK?
I'm originally from the UK and grew up in Lincoln, near Nottingham.
Yes, I know.
Went to university in Swansea.
Okay.
Fell in love, as you do, met a German at university, so then moved over to Germany after finishing university. And yeah, the rest is history. Then stayed there, basically have never come back to the UK to live. But because my parents are here, and I've got 4 children, and they've never lived in the UK either. Some of them came to study in the UK, but they're kind of migrating over here for some reason. So I come and visit them.
But Germany's a great country.
I love Germany.
I love Germany. I love Germans. I think they're brilliant. It's probably, I mean, I'm a big fan of Italy, but I think Germans are my favourite Europeans.
You get mixed responses. I think there's more similarities to the German and the Brits than you think there is. What I used to, when I first moved over there, it was how well everything works. I remember the first time I went over, 30 years ago, probably even longer than that, hitting 40 years. And you're in a train and they do an announcement to say, we apologise, the train is going to be 2 minutes late. And at that time, a train wasn't late in the UK if it was under 59 minutes late. So it used to be very efficient, but you're really noticing a difference. It's changing.
But things are breaking?
Everywhere. Things are breaking.
That's a shame. I just like Germans because I think they've got the closest sense of humour to the British. I think.
Not when you watch their Christmas TV, but...
It might be a football thing. Because whenever I meet Germans, we're talking about football and then winding each other up.
Yeah, maybe on that level. But I like them. They're reliable. They work hard. They've got the right ethic. And up till now, things have worked very well in the country.
So what's breaking? I mean, we know why, right? But what is breaking?
Definitely the trains.
Okay.
The roads. I mean, they've got potholes. Now, I'm used to that from the UK, but I'm not used to that from Germany. I think it's a general feel. There's just this cloud hanging over and nobody can quite point the finger at what it is. I mean, they are pointing the finger at lots of different things, but maybe not at the thing that we think is the problem.
Well, everything's breaking and every country's on a different place in the trajectory. I mean, I've been out to places that are completely screwed. I've been out to Argentina, although I feel like that's getting mended at the moment. But we're all on the same. We all know why.
Yeah.
The public debt that we have no need for.
Which I got a very interesting present on Christmas Day. Probably my most interesting present was from my to-be son-in-law on why we need public debt. And it's this book, which is about 300 pages long.
That was a Christmas present?
That was my Christmas present. And so I thought maybe I'm overdoing the orange pilling on this one.
Has he proposed to your daughter yet?
Not yet. Not yet. He's wonderful. He's from Russia. He's absolutely wonderful. We've got a very multi-culti family.
Multi-culti?
Multi-culti, everything. So, yeah.
If someone tried to marry my daughter and brought home a present for me that was 74 pages on public debt, I'd kick him out of my house.
Well, I'll tell him if he will read the Bitcoin Standard, I will read his public debt book. So I think we've got a fair deal there.
Go better. I'd give him the bullish case for Bitcoin.
I like that one.
Yes.
But you know the one that orange pilled me was check your financial privilege.
That's because Alex Gladstein's an absolute legend. I love that man.
I mean, it was my son who orange pilled me. So he was the one who laid the groundwork and had got me to really, really think about this. And then I just read that book and this is it.
Interesting.
This is it.
So your son orange pilled you, whereas I've orange pilled my son. It goes in both directions. Okay, how did it happen? Give me the background, Rachel. How it
happened? I was living in Africa with. I've got 4 children,
okay.
But they're all adults now. And at the time I was living with my husband and my youngest son in Africa, and my eldest son. I can't remember where he was living at the time because he moves around the world all over the place. And he came to visit in 2017 and said, "You need to buy some Bitcoin." And I looked at it. I said, "Oh, that's complicated. Look, Paddy, here's some money. You buy some Bitcoin, buy some for my husband and for me, and buy some for each of the children for Christmas."
What year was this?
2017.
2017, okay.
So I think it was around like the 19,000, 17,000, 19,000. So we did that and we gave it all to the children for Christmas. And it was one stipulation, you have to keep this for a year and then you can decide what you're going to do with it. And
a year after that, you didn't want to sell it.
No, yeah, I thought it was down at 3,000.
Yeah.
And the children thought it was the crappiest Christmas present that they've ever got. And the funny thing was that I'd said to this son, Patrick, you have to do a monthly report on how our investment is doing. Well, we never heard anything from him because it went from 17,000 down to 3,000.
He was in hiding.
Well, but we had this family chat and he'd keep posting stuff. And in the end, I had to ban him from the family chat. And we started up a new chat called Bitcoin Banter, which was an opt-in. So if you want to know about Bitcoin, you can choose. And I did opt in. So I was reading all this, but I had no time. And then the pandemic hit. And very unexpectedly, we then had to leave Africa and lost jobs and everything completely changed.
Where in Africa were you?
It's South Africa in Johannesburg. Okay. So my husband was actually working for MAN, which makes buses and lorries. And I'd set up a company for expats because I'm one of those, I've moved 25 times in the last 30 years. It's moving around, you settle the children, you settle your husband, you find a house, you find schools, and then you think, okay, what am I going to do? And so I'd set up this company to help expats adjust to life in South Africa. So left that behind. Came back to Germany and started reading. And I read, and I read, and I read. And then I read this Alex Gladstein. And then I thought, I have to work for Bitcoin. I've got these 4 children and I want them to have a future. I have to work for Bitcoin. And do you know who the first person was I applied for a job with?
Well, no, I don't. Tell me.
You.
What? Did you?
I did.
Is that true?
It is true. You go back through your emails.
That's embarrassing.
No, you wrote me a beautiful reply.
So we get so many emails. It depends on the time of, during the bull market times, it can be 50 a day. And sometimes it's more like 5 to 10 a day now. I do reply to every single one.
You reply beautifully.
And I reply, nobody else.
Okay. No, I really appreciated it because your show was very important to me for learning about Bitcoin.
Amazing.
And so I just wrote to you and said, I'll be your right-hand girl. I'll organise everything. I'm good at that, organising, coordinating. And then you wrote back and you said that you just put somebody in the position.
Emma.
Yeah, you just put somebody in.
Yeah.
So then what can I do? My background is in education. And so I was looking on LinkedIn, what jobs are there in Bitcoin? And they were either looking for software engineers, which I'm not, or they were looking for social media specialists, and I hate social media. But I thought I'll apply for one of those. And I did an unpaid internship at a mining company, Munich International Mining, who were mining in Georgia, a German-based company, but they were mining in Georgia, for 3 months to learn everything I could about mining and get to know people. So I went to all the conferences, all the events, just to build up my network of, and then my son and I started a company called Bitcoin Partner, which was basically advising businesses and private people. Then I met this incredible guy called Chris, who was in the process of setting up a Bitcoin company. And he first asked me if I wanted to be a speaker on the platform. We were building this, he was building this platform of speakers. And I said yes, because I've learned with Bitcoin, just say yes to everything. Because you don't know what's going to, just say yes. And then I said, if you need any help in setting it up, I'm quite good at, the organising, coordinating. And he looked at me and said, we need to talk.
My son's about to go on the same journey as you.
Aha.
So when I was just out in Africa, because I don't know if you know, he works for me. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but working with your child is challenging because you don't have a normal boss employee relationship.
No.
It's still a parent. Yeah, it just doesn't work. When I was out in Africa, I was chatting to Eric at Gridless about this. I was saying it's unfair on him and me because I speak to him in a way I wouldn't talk to any other employee, and he speaks to me in a way he wouldn't speak to a boss, and so the dynamic doesn't work.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you think he'll come out to Africa?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Send him to work for me. I'm not his dad. We'll see how it works." So I texted Connor straight away. I was like, "Do you want to move out to Kenya for 3 months and work for a Bitcoin mining company?" He replied just yes in about 8 seconds. So January, he's flying out to Nairobi. He's going to work for Gridless for 3 months.
Perfect. It'll be the best thing he's ever done.
I think so too.
Best thing he's ever done. You always have to get out. I mean, this is what we say to move, go and see the world.
Yes.
And then you'll understand what we've got back here. Mm-hmm. I think people are very quick to diss what we've got in the UK or in Europe. But when you've lived in other parts of the world, then you do see the benefits of what we've got.
I think we're so lucky to have what we have. I think we're so look, it's crumbling, as you said in Germany, it's crumbling here, and somehow all this has to get fixed before it goes too far. But we're still very lucky. I mean, what I saw in Nairobi shook me to my core, absolute core. Yeah. It was horrific.
Yeah.
Like the size and level of poverty I saw was just, I don't know, screwed my head.
And the thing is, we've got to fix it. You always blame everybody else for the problems going on, but we are the UK or we are Europe. So don't blame everybody else. See what can you do to make the situation better, because it's so easy to let something go and it's so difficult to get it back. And, when you talk to a lot of the Bitcoiners, they, oh, well, I'm going to leave this country. I'm packing up and going off. And yeah, I mean, I see it. Mm-hmm. And certainly I think it's worth having your plan B in place. And I think you'd be a fool not to have a plan B in place. But I've definitely made it my life work at the moment, to see what I can do to make it a better place to live in Europe. And I firmly believe that Bitcoin, and in particular Bitcoin mining, has a massive role to play in this.
Yeah, American Hodl said it on Twitter. It must have been about 6 to 12 months ago. He was talking about how things are breaking and people are talking about leaving and moving to other countries and getting their second passport. He says, I'm just going to stay here and fix it.
Yeah.
This is a great country. Yeah. And I agree with all that. I mean, I just want to do it at my own level in my little town of Bedford. But I feel like there's a brain drain. I saw when I was in Argentina and Lebanon, when I was chatting to parents, the saddest thing is family-based cultures, the children leaving and moving to other countries because there's no hope or opportunity. And that is also a brain drain of the best people leaving to go and make other countries better. I feel the same about this. I feel like the Bitcoiners have got smart people. People understand what is actually breaking and knows how to fix it. I want them to stay where they are and fix things.
Yeah. And listen, it's happening. So if this company that I work full-time for, Terahash,
yes.
So we're a platform. We see ourselves as a platform for Bitcoin. I mean, we have a very strong focus on energy. So we have an energy lab where we carry out research on different types of miners, immersion miners, hydro miners, in combination with renewable energy. What output you get, which are the most efficient, et cetera, et cetera. And the nicest thing, there is no Bitcoin company, which is the benefit of Bitcoin. There should not be a Bitcoin company. But it also is one of the negatives, because if you've got a good idea, or where do you go? Mm-hmm. And so we're finding that in the German-speaking world, everyone knows our company, not over here, but in the German-speaking world. And so I have a wonderful job because everybody who's got an idea in Bitcoin gets in touch with us and talks about their idea. And what you notice is in every company, there's one or two Bitcoiners. And I think we underestimate what they can achieve. I mean, there's a massive energy company in Germany. And I once got an email from this one chap, working in this company saying, listen, I can really see how Bitcoin mining, but he's one guy on his own. And, can he get up to the decision makers on the board level? So we're having debates as to how do we get this, that we get a workshop to the board. And about 3 months later, another guy from the same company, but a different division, also gets in touch. Bitcoiner, understands it. So we brought those two together and they had no idea about each other in the company. And 4 weeks later, we're doing a massive workshop all about the benefits of Bitcoin mining to one of the biggest energy companies in Germany. So this is my message to the Bitcoiners who think, I want to go and work for Bitcoin. Stay where you are. You have a massive effect in your companies. If you just drip the information, don't go over the top like I do and put people off. Drip your information, and this is how we will change the world.
That's a very interesting point, because all those emails we get, right? There's a lot asking either, do we have a job? Can they work for us? Or where do they find jobs in Bitcoin? Which companies they should go for? And I've always been forwarding them to the various job boards or the companies I think I'm recruiting. But actually, that's such a fascinating point. It's like, no, stay where you are. Stay where you are and help that company. Because the big challenge with this is, like, yesterday, I'm drinking with some of my friends. We're having our Christmas drink. The subject comes up. And the gulf between what they think Bitcoin is and what it really is huge. And you still have to go step by step, explaining the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, explaining all the amazing things mining are doing, trying to explain to them. I'll give you the best example, actually, because we were talking about your son orange pilling you. I finally, after 6 years, orange pilled my dad. He heard me on the phone to Danny, and we were talking about the ETS and what's going to happen. And I got off the phone, and my dad was like, should I put my savings in Bitcoin? I was like, how much have you got? It's significant. And I said, well, what's the plan? He said, well, look, it's for you and the kids, when I'm done. I was like, how long do you think you got left, Dad? Tricky question. He's like, he's 75. He said, if I get to 80, I'll be happy. I was like, all right, firstly, can we have a hug? Because I can't bear to think of only seeing you for 5 more years. But okay, but let's go with your 5 years. Based on everything you know about Bitcoin, which isn't a lot, but based on what you know, do you think the price of Bitcoin now will be higher in 5 years or lower? He said, I think it'll be higher, because he tracks the price. I said, okay, that money you've got, those savings, do you think that's going to buy you the same amount of stuff, more stuff or less stuff in 5 years? He said, less stuff. I was like, well, what do you think you should do? He said, yeah, I should put it all in Bitcoin. Yeah. I was like, fine. And that was just that basic understanding. But then he was asking me, but why is it? Why does the price of Bitcoin keep going up? And I said, it's just math. I explained to him in debt. I explained to him central bank policy. I explained to him Bitcoin's consensus rules, and he got it. But
why do you think he hadn't got it before? Why do you think it was after 7 years that it clicked?
That's a good question. I mean, I'd rather him answer for himself. I guess my dad doesn't have an appetite for risk. It's more that. I think he's known all along, because I've explained these things over and over, but I just don't think he has an appetite for risk, because he's not a risky person. Yeah. He had the same job for 35 years. He worked for the same company for 35 years. He put money into a pension, various savings, policy things he had, whereas I'm his lunatic son who just does what he wants. And so little appetite for risk, and he's watched the price go like this ever since I've been in. I remember being in the pub in Donegal with him when the price went through $1,000. And I've seen it go up to 20 with him and come down. New Year's Eve, this is a fascinating one, 2018, I think it was. We were talking about, actually, I should withdraw some, maybe buy a house. And I was looking to do it. My daughter runs over to me. I've got a glass of wine. She knocks over my laptop, fries the laptop. So I didn't sell the Bitcoin. And then early January it crashed. So he's seen it go up and down and the missed opportunities. But I think he has enough money to live now. Yeah. To this end of times, and he wants to leave the most for us, and he trusts me.
But I think it always is, if you have a problem and you need a solution, and Bitcoin can be a solution, you will understand Bitcoin. And this is how I believe that we're going to get into Europe. Europe has got an energy problem. And everybody in Europe is prepared to talk about, we have an energy problem. You know, it's not politically incorrect. It's just obvious. I mean, the company that I work for, we're part of a group of companies. So it's been around for 70 years, and we are a made in Germany company. So, you know, when you think about made in Germany, you think of very high quality precision. And this is precise.
Cars. I think of cars.
So we make car parts in a factory that we have in East Germany. And we make these spraying technology that will last for 10 years, extremely high quality cosmetics, et cetera, et cetera. And we need an awful lot of energy. And the whole reason that it started for our company was Chris, who's the founder, sees what happens to his electricity bill, thinks, how am I going to stay competitive in this global market when my electricity prices have gone from 5 cents to 30 cents, you know? And so he thought, why don't I do a little bit of Bitcoin mining down in the cellar, use the heat for my production? And this is how it started. We were trying to solve the problem that we had in our company, and we used Bitcoin mining to do it. And then this has grown, thinking, well, wait a minute, if it solves the problem for our company, how many other companies are going to? So you need to identify a problem. And if you identify a problem, people will sit and talk to you. And we do have the benefit of having been around for 70 years. So we're not one of your startups and we don't look like typical Bitcoiners. You know, we're not quite like what you would imagine a Bitcoiner to be. And so you find that because of our longevity, we're known for being a reliable company, a trustworthy company. And we open our doors, and the first thing that comes around is the Bavarian television. And they did a very, very good report on Bitcoin mining because they trust us. They trust the Klager Group, who is the parent company. And so they were open to listen. So we have, and with this laboratory that we've got, you know, you have your cold water coming in, it runs through the miners, warm water comes out, and it goes into the boiler. It's hands-on, and they come in and they go, oh, is that all it is? Yeah, it's not dirty. It's just computers. It's just servers. And you just see this, effect. But you've got to get the confidence of the people, and you've got to speak the language of the people. You know, you can't go and be aggressive and tell them everything that they're doing wrong and tell them how crap everything is, because they're not going to listen to you. And this is what's so important, that if you want to change things, you need to make sure that the person who's sitting at the table speaks the same language as the person opposite, so that you open that door, so that you can walk this idea in. And I strongly believe that it's going to be through Bitcoin mining that Bitcoin is going to become acceptable in the EU, in the Western world.
Good, because it feels like, I mean, we're outside of the EU right now.
I'm sorry about that. That caused such a rift in our family, I tell you. But we're over it now. And the funny thing why we're over it is Bitcoin. I completely fell out with my brother about Brexit.
Okay.
And Bitcoin has brought us back together again.
There you go.
There you go.
But
it unites.
Despite us not being in the EU, we can have this conversation. So obviously, look, we have a podcast that does fairly well for us, and we record 90% of our shows in the US. It's way ahead. Everything's way ahead. The investment, the understanding, the thinking. I feel like, and I also feel part responsible for not helping. You know, me and Danny have talked a lot about trying to do more in Europe.
Well, you've got me.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
But no, we've said we should do more here, but it just feels like we're a little bit behind. Well, not a little bit. We're significantly behind the US here.
Can I disagree?
Please do. Tell me what I'm missing.
I think that we don't know what's going on in the rest of the world, and particularly when the rest of the world speaks a different language. I mean, I can really speak for the German-speaking world, because that's, there is so much going on. And we're still a tiny, weeny little bubble. But the bubble is growing. And there's one organization which is called 21, and that translates to 21. Yes. And it's completely the ethos of Bitcoin. It's decentralized, And they have managed to get a meetup in nearly every single city in Germany, in Austria, many in Switzerland. And if you bring the people together, that's where the ideas germinate, and that's where they get together and they start a business. We've got a Bitcoin hotel in Germany.
Really?
We've got a bit. You have to come because it's actually starting to get more international.
Where in Germany?
Near Stuttgart. It's called Hotel Princess, and it's phenomenal. We have so many Bitcoin events there. Daniel Prince was there a couple of weeks ago. We've had,
good lad.
Yeah, we've had. I think Samson Mao's been that. Who's that prince who? The Serbian guy.
Yeah.
He's been there. So people are becoming aware, and it's a real breeding ground for innovation and ideas. And if you think about it, the Germans are engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can I give you a present?
Of course.
Look at this. This is a company which is new. This is for your bar in Bedford. It's not going to work now because you're going to have to plug it in. This is a Lightning machine for Lightning payments.
So like I said, Bitcoin.
So all your stuff, they don't need to know anything about Lightning. They don't need to know anything about Bitcoin. You turn it on, you put the amount in euro in it. People can pay with their card, with their QR code, with their ring, whatever. And then in the background, it does all your accounting for you. So your accountant doesn't need to know anything about Bitcoin. It will put a nice form out at the end of the day. What was taken in, it will translate it to the exchange rate at the time. I
need 9 of these.
You need 9 of those?
I need 9 of these if this works.
Okay, well, Michael, if you're listening, 9 of those.
Okay.
Fantastic. I mean...
No, because we haven't Bitcoined the bar yet. So it's funny, people are messaging me and go, I want to come to your Bitcoin bar. I was like, it's not a Bitcoin bar. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, no, it's just a cool bar. I think we've twice ever been asked to pay in Bitcoin. It's a business, but we are ready for our conference next year. We are going to prepare it to accept Bitcoin, and so this.
But you see, it's got to be easy, and it's got to be good engineering. And this is, and I mean, when I look at Bitcoin mining, we're totally different to America. We're never going to have the mining farms that America does because we've got we don't have the amount of sustainable. In the Nordics, yes, you've got all the hydro, so you might get the larger farms. But we have to be far more intelligent. We have to eke every last watt out of those machines.
Why can't we do it the same?
Because we have different amounts of energy. If you don't have abundant energy, I mean, let's see if we ever do go along the nuclear path. That's a topic for another day. But as it stands at the moment...
Well, perhaps it isn't, because hasn't Germany made a massive faux pas with their nuclear policy?
Some people might think so, yes. Okay. I mean, some people might like to say that if you're turning off 3 nuclear power stations when you've got an energy problem, that's not the most clever situation. I am not an energy expert. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. You never know the reasons for these. It doesn't make sense to me on the superficial level. But what we can definitely say is our electricity is too expensive. And what the EU wants, they want to go on to renewables. But you have a massive problem when you go on to renewables. You've got all,
I know the problem. We're buying in the UK, we're buying our additional energy from French nuclear power stations.
Well, it's quite ridiculous where you see, a lot of us are buying from the nuclear. So it's not in my backyard, but you'll buy it from somewhere else. So what we have to do, we're having to develop, it's going to be a play between you're going to have your Bitcoin mining, you're going to have your batteries, you're going to have your heat pumps, you're going to have your software so that you coordinate. We're not going to have massive thousands of machines. We're going to be having 6 machines working, and you're going to be taking the heat out of those machines, and you're going to be using the heat, and you're going to be using absolutely every part of that's produced by Bitcoin mining. And in fact, we've got a few pilot projects going on. They're not interested in the Bitcoin. They're interested in the heat. And so this is how we will win. That this is the ethos of Bitcoin. You don't want to have these massive farms around that can be turned on and turned off. If you've got everybody, you need hot water in your house. So we need solutions for doing that. We've got companies who are coming up with solutions for Bitcoin mining, these, small units that you can have in your house. We will have innovation. And this is where the Europeans are good at the engineering. And there's a lot of it going on. We're not there yet.
Well, I was going to say, there's been lots of different projects, engineering projects, to create different types of ASIC miners that do things like heat your home or various things, but they've never really been that successful.
We're not there yet. And look, we're still at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, so for example, when we get the heat out of the miners, we actually need a higher heat for our production. So we're having at the same time to develop a heat pump, which will take this 60-degree heat and get it up to 100 or 120. Well, that's not been needed before, because you normally get cold water coming in, so you need to take it from but we've got this benefit now that it's going in. So we're in the process of developing all the infrastructure that we need, but we will get there because we have a problem and we need a solution to the problem.
So it's the Terahash lab that is looking into this.
We're a small company. I mean, there's 3 Bitcoin only employees. Our vision is to unleash the power of the Bitcoin network. We know no one can do it by themselves. And so if you get all the brains together working on the same problem, so we work with all of the companies, we work with another software company to develop the software so that we know when do we put our Bitcoin miners on, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Do I need the electricity for my heat to go into the production, or is there going to be lots of sun tomorrow so my miners can turn on? You need to have these intelligent systems. So we're working together with software companies. We're working together with engineers to do the heat pump. So it's not just us by ourselves, but it's kind of, I don't know, we're kind of like in the middle of the web, and people have got these ideas for solutions and come to us, and we will connect people who've got nothing to do with us. Because in the end, this is what I love about Bitcoin. If you've got Bitcoin, and if I've got Bitcoin, what's good for Bitcoin is good for you, and what is good for me. So you can really cooperate. It's not a competition. It's let's cooperate to get systems up in place that work for the good of all of us.
Where are you on that trajectory then, though? So it sounds like it's a lot of research at the moment.
A lot of research, and we're starting with the pilot projects. So, first you've got to educate. And so a big part of our company is education, putting workshops, what is it? And we can't at the moment come with all the facts and figures because we're still building the facts and figures, and companies need the facts and figures. So if you go to they always want to know, what's the return on my investment? Well, that's hard with Bitcoin mining because there are so many different variables. What's the difficulty rate? What's the price of ASICs? What's the price of Bitcoin? So they have to get a basic understanding in Bitcoin first. They don't need to have to know a lot about it. They don't have to, they don't have to be Bitcoiners, but they have to have an understanding of why there's a future for Bitcoin, why we think that there will still be Bitcoin in 20, 30 years or longer, so it's worth investing in their company. So you've got to get them knowing enough without being evangelical about it. So, and it's very hard to come up with a black and white. So, because if the price of Bitcoin does go up, then obviously their new infrastructure is going to amortize in half a year, not in 3 years. But you need to set up for the worst case scenario. Let's say, give them the option. We've built this calculator that they can put the figures in themselves. So what do they think the price of Bitcoin is going to be in 3 years? And if you slot that amount in, well, then how long is it going to take you to amortize buying all of these Bitcoin miners and setting up the pump and setting up this, that, and the other?
Yes, because sometimes I worry about this is that these amazing projects, these additional things you can do with these miners, whether it's methane flaring, whether it's gas flaring, whether it's integration with energy grids, all these great ideas. But do we end up getting to a point whereby if the price doesn't rise at the required rate at certain times, some of these projects that are created end up dying because they're not able to...
They're not viable.
They're not viable. And so the viability is therefore challenged by the speed at which the industrial miners can scale themselves.
Yeah.
And how competitive can you be with the industrial miners?
Yeah.
If they're getting a better price a kilowatt per hour, or if they're integrated with grids in a way where they're even making more money when they're turning off, can these more kind of niche projects ever be viable?
Yeah.
Or can they be viable long time?
This is precisely the stage that we're at.
Yeah.
So, just before Christmas, we sent 2 miners over to Switzerland to a city who's looking into it. We've had a company get in touch with us. They look after 1,000 landfill sites in Germany. I mean, this is exactly what we're needing, but we need somebody from within the company to come and talk to us about it. You know, we can't write to the landfill companies and say, hey, we've got this brilliant idea. But if you've got that one chap or woman sitting in that company who understands Bitcoin mining, get in touch with us. And so this is what we're building up at the moment, getting the facts and the figures and what is working. And of course, we've got our own company to look at. So what are we managing to get out? How much heat are we managing to get out? We've got a second site in East Germany where we've put I think we've got 1.6 megawatts of solar. We don't need that much so we'll be able to do a lot more experimenting over there. But we need facts and figures, and we need to work together with the miners. There's a lot of good projects going on, but a lot of them are going on under the radar, maybe because they don't want to be regulated, you know. So this is difficult, and obviously we can only work together with the miners who are looking for long-term sustainable projects.
So you're not going to do the mining yourself. You're going to work with the miners and help them innovate further.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're kind of in the middle there. I mean, we have just bought shed loads of miners, and we're sending them around the world we want to build up a hash rate market, so that if you've got European investors who want to invest in Bitcoin mining, but they want to follow all the ESG regulations and they want to make sure that it is sustainable energy, where can they invest? So we will do the due diligence for that, testing out the sites, going to the sites. Is it really as it seems? Is that somewhere that you can invest in? And I think, you know, this hash rate market will at some point in the hopefully not too distant future involve Europe. If I have a landfill site, maybe the guy who runs a landfill site doesn't want to invest in Bitcoin mining. So you just say to them, okay, what price will you give me the electricity for? And what price can I sell the heat for? And what happens in the middle is our business. And so then we would be looking to get investors in. Who wants to invest in Bitcoin mining? We can get the electricity for 1 cent because it would otherwise be methane, you know, they'd have to do the methane mitigation in other ways. So we can get the electricity very cheaply. And that's where then investors would come in to. We can't finance all of these projects, obviously, but there's a lot of money out there who are looking for sustainable investments, and what a perfect place if it's within Europe. You've got a landfill mine that would otherwise be putting methane into the atmosphere. We come along with a solution. They give us electricity. You give us the money. We'll put the miners in there. Win, win, win. What's
the business case for you guys to be doing all this?
We've got two major areas of cash cow that we think. One of them is we provide solutions for companies. So if you're a company like us, a small company who's got a high need for energy and you want to incorporate Bitcoin mining in it, we will do that for you from start to finish. Which miners do you need to buy? What's the setup? Oversee the project from start to finish. So that's one. The second one is going to be the hash rate market, looking for investors. And we're in the process of building up a big training center so that by the time the halving comes, we will have courses for everything that you need, particularly B2B. Everyone's going to need to have a Bitcoin strategy. Every company is going to need to have a Bitcoin strategy. Everybody's going to need to know about Bitcoin.
Of course, we know this.
And when the price goes up again, you're going to get a lot more interest. But they want to work with someone that they trust and someone that they know, and so I think that's where it will come into play.
Do you think the German market gets it better than, say, the UK market?
I think there's a lot. It's hard for me to judge because I don't spend an awful lot of time in the UK. I mean, I came to the conference in Edinburgh a couple of years ago, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I am coming to the Bedford.
Go on.
Yes. I think we work together. I mean, can I tell you about another project that we're working on at the moment? So with you saying earlier on that the Americans are far ahead, I think where the Americans are really far ahead is with policy.
Yes.
And this is...
I know.
This is
crucial.
Why?
The interesting area on this, right, sorry to interrupt you, is I see the recommended policy that comes out of the EU, and I don't feel like there is a firm opposition from it within the political structure. Within the US, you've got this kind of strong Republican arm. Not always, because we know Elizabeth Warren has some Republican co-signers of her latest stupid bill. But at least you tend to have that kind of like strong Republican defense of freedom and Bitcoin being freedom. And so, but I don't feel like we have that in the EU. We just have a bunch of people making policy.
So this is what
it worries me.
I think you're right, and there's nobody in Europe speaking for Bitcoin, but we do happen to know that there are other cryptocurrencies already at the EU level talking up there.
Are they doing our work?
Well, proof of stake. Why is proof of stake so much better than proof of work? And there's a core exactly, and there is a danger to proof of work, and we see this that we need to defend proof of work, and so we've working together with other fantastic companies. We're putting together an association. Well, we've put together an association called the European Bitcoin Energy Association.
Okay.
And we're going to launch on the 26th of January.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. And this is precisely what I was talking to earlier about. You have to have the right people sitting at the table.
Who's involved in this?
So this is what's taken the time.
Okay.
We need to have the fiat companies involved in it because they're the ones who can open the door. So we have got, if you want to set up an association in Europe, you need to have minimum 7 founding members. So I knew that these 7 founding members had to be the right guys. So probably our biggest coup is we've got Börse Stuttgart. This is a stock exchange in Germany. They know everything about financial regulation. So they've got a seat on the board with a guy called Sven Hildebrandt. He understands Bitcoin through and through, and he understands financial regulations. We've got Coinfinity is a founding member. Coinfinity is the oldest Bitcoin-only exchange in Austria. We've got Prosperity Digital. That's based in Switzerland, but it's mining sustainably in Sweden. Skilling Mining, you'll know Skilling. So we've got Mark Morton. He's actually the chair of our board. Obviously, Terahash is behind this. We've got 2 individuals. One who works in Germany, you've got 4 grid distributors, massive, and they're pan-European. So we've got one guy who works for this company, and he's been for 30 years doing European regulations in energy. He's on the board. He knows all the people that he needs to talk to. He understands Bitcoin. He's on the board. We've got Harold Rauter.
Yes, I know.
You will know Harold.
He's been to Bedford.
He's been to Bedford. He's been on your show. The guy's a genius.
Yes, he is.
He's an absolute genius.
He is.
There's nothing he doesn't know about climate, and he talks the language. He understands the language. He understands Bitcoin. So we've managed to get together this group, which I think will have a great impact. So my role in it is I drive it because I'm not a policy. I don't understand politics. I don't speak the language of politics. I can't. I'm far too honest. And I always get into trouble because I say the wrong thing. So I've got to be very careful what I say. But you need somebody to drive it. You need somebody to be getting the people around the table. And so we have the representatives from the mining world. So we have Skilling, we have Terahash, we have Prosperity Digital. And we have a Telegram group, which I think has got getting on for 150 mining in Europe. It's called European Bitcoin Mining. And we've got to be very careful. We have got to vet everybody very carefully who comes into the association, because the message, we have to be cleaner than clean with Bitcoin. You cannot afford to make a mistake. No. You just can't afford to make a mistake. So it's better to have one too few than one too many. We will be opening up for membership in January when we're launching, and we ask all the Bitcoin companies to support us, because whatever you think about policymakers, my take on it is, I would hate to be a policymaker. You need to know an awful lot about an awful lot. And I know how long it's taken me to understand Bitcoin and understand Bitcoin mining. And they're meant to be making regulations on something that it's hard to understand. So one of the main
why do they have to regulate everything? Why can't they just leave some things the fuck alone? Why is it something comes along? It's like, well, we need to regulate this. We need some new rules.
Yeah. In the next world, I think if we move on to sound money, then once we've moved,
have you not moved?
I have. This is what I love about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And from next year onwards, I'm earning in Bitcoin, and I pay my rent in Bitcoin, and I go to as many places as I can. This is one we can all choose to live this world, and this will happen. So I think you've got your grassroots going on. There's plenty of this going on. The more we can take with us, the better. And I want Europe to be a place where I want to live, and I want my children to live, and my grand, if they choose to live there. And so the more we can take the people with us, the better it will be for the future of Europe. And I think the policymakers of Europe also want a sustainable Europe, one would hope, and we certainly want a sustainable Europe. And so how can we work together? And so we need to help.
Even Christine Lagarde?
I'm not allowed to. I've got to be careful what I say, otherwise I get into trouble.
Okay. She's our Elizabeth Warren.
I'm sure. Let's assume, in all the jobs that I've done in my life, if you assume best intentions, you get further. If you're negative, you'll get nowhere. You'll get absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, I'll trust you on that one.
So we might not get anywhere anyway. We don't know, but we can but try. And I think we want to help develop an understanding. What is Bitcoin mining, and what's the relationship of Bitcoin mining and the energy infrastructure of Europe? Anyone watching your show, they all know. I mean, we don't need to go into grid stabilization. They know this. But to the policymakers. So,
do we have any grid stabilization projects in Europe? Because the conversation comes back to ERCOT in Texas. And that's have we got anything happening in Europe?
The biggest problem that we've got is the policy was made that we need to go on to renewable energies without putting the infrastructure in place to cope with it. Right. And so this is a massive problem. And here we are we have a massive problem, and we need a solution. And we know what the solution can be. But we need to show, not tell, that this is the solution. So we want to be kind of, if you want to write policy, you need bottom up, top down. If you've just got top down policy, you get a policy that says we want by the year 2030 to be 100% renewables. That's top down. Yeah. And we need then to work together also with the miners to get, what do we need? How do we get to if you want to have a policy that says we go completely onto renewables, how do we do that? So let's all work together, the ones from the bottom, the ones from the top, so that we come up with solutions. And if we can get an understanding of the benefits of it, at least have a look at it, then I think we'll get a lot further.
How much threat is there to having proof of work banned in Europe? Because I've seen it come up a few times.
At the moment, there's a really big threat. And unfortunately, we've got, I don't know if you've heard about the MiCA regulations. Yes. So the MiCA regulations are meant to be regulating all of cryptocurrencies right across Europe. So all of the countries have got the same rules going on, which I believe could be quite a good thing. If you want people to come into Bitcoin, the vast majority of the population feels safer if it's regulated. Your Bitcoiners don't care, but if you want to get your institutions on board or whatever, then it needs to be regulated. So at that time when that was put into place, or they're working the legislation now, it was looking very positive for Bitcoin. It's lumped into the baskets of cryptocurrencies. But now they are addressing proof of work as if it's a negative thing and could potentially need to be banned. So this is something why we have set up EBEA, that we do need to have a voice in Europe showing that please don't ban proof of work, because it will have negative implications for Europe.
Do we have any good voices within the European Parliament at all? Because again, I can look back at the US and go, okay, I know Ted Cruz, I know Cynthia Lummis. And there's a whole list of others. If Dennis Porter was here, he'd probably reel off 10 for me. But there are a bunch of people we know who will fight and defend and who understand this technology properly and will push back. Do we have anyone in Europe?
Not as far as I'm aware, but do you know that there's an initiative in Germany called Bitcoin im Bundestag, which means, okay, so it's Bitcoin in Parliament. And again, it's one person. It always starts with one person. We happen to have one politician who's an independent, and she's setting up an initiative to develop an understanding at the German level of what is Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin mining. And we're invited, Terahash is invited in February to go along and talk to the Parliament. Now, who's going to turn up? The politicians probably are not going to turn up, but they're going to send their people to take a listen. It's a start. it's a start. So to my knowledge, I don't know any European politician who speaks out in favour, but there will be plenty who understand it, but they just are not speaking up. So we have to be able to give them that voice, that we make it clean and we make it acceptable.
I always imagined with the UK leaving the EU that we would steal a march on this. I always thought it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity outside of the EU to kind of own this within Europe. And I've heard off record that both Rishi Sunak and Michael Gove are pro. I'm going to say crypto there, but we get wrapped into the same basket. But it's mainly the backbenchers that aren't. I know Freddie News. You must know Freddie.
Yeah, so we work together with those guys.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I know Freddie's doing good work, but it just feels like we need a couple of big, strong personalities.
You need the voices within, and this is what we're trying to do. And find those voices, have them get in touch with us, and then how can we help each other to build up the correct narrative, to build up a story which is true, based on facts and figures and palatable.
Yeah, you would also hope that the EU would say, well, look, the US isn't banning this. The US is integrating miners within its grid. It is stabilizing the grid. It is providing jobs. Like, you would hope the EU would go look at that and go, maybe the Americans are onto something here. And
they will. I mean, but there's plenty of negatives in America as well.
I know.
Of areas where they are. I mean, you've got louder negative voices in the US, and you've got negative voices in the EU.
True, but those loud voices are usually lying or spreading misinformation or politically motivated in some way. Just Elizabeth Warren. I can't keep coming back to that woman. Sorry, but she's doing my nut in because we're watching her routinely lie to the American people. Anyway.
But so this is why we've got to build the story that with the facts and figures that it's a no-brainer.
Are you getting enough support and help?
Well, we're literally launching now.
Okay.
And so we've been behind the scenes.
This is why you're here.
This is why I'm here as well. So it will be, we'll put it in the show notes, I would have thought. EBEA.work, the website is launching in January. We would really ask we need as many members as we can. We need anyone who's doing a project that needs to be highlighted or that we can research, get your facts and figures from what's going on. Your mining, there's lovely little setups. I know that there's lots of wind farms where you have the big windmill, and in the base there's plenty of Bitcoin mining going on.
You've come for a .work domain. Is that on purpose?
Yes.
I'm assuming you looked up proof of .work.
No, why have you got that?
No, I was just assuming that someone must have proof.work.
Probably, yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one to get. I mean, listen, one of our strategic partners is a bank.
Okay.
So there's a bank in Germany, a high street bank called Volksbank Raiffeisenbank Bayern Mitte. I mean, it
That's a
doesn't
romantic
quite
name.
swing off the tongue, but it's a Volksbank means Bank of the People.
Okay.
They're the first bank to introduce Bitcoin to their customers.
Okay.
You can buy at a high street bank. You can buy Bitcoin, but they won't custody for you. You have to do self-custody. I mean, isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
Did you know about this?
No, I didn't.
There is so much going on. Little pockets, but when you look, you'll find it. So we're talking to financial institutes, and financial institutions, they want to invest in Bitcoin. Of course, they want to invest in Bitcoin, but they're waiting for the regulation to enable them to do so. And so, if we can provide them with a platform that will enable them to invest in this technology, they're happy. So we can work together with the financial institutions, with the energy institutions, and with the miners to get a win-win-win solution at the end.
Do you feel like you're making progress? Do you feel like you're breaking ground here?
I know that we're making progress.
There you go.
I know we're making progress. I've only been doing this for a year. And when we look back and we think, what has happened in this year? I'm cautious because if you talk to people who've been in Bitcoin since 2010, and they'll say, we've always thought that next year's the breakthrough, and it doesn't come. If you talk to gold bugs, they will say, well, it was obvious from 1971 that it wasn't sustainable. So you think any moment now this is going to crumble down. That's been since 1971. Nobody knows the timing. But can't you feel it?
Oh, I feel it.
Can't you feel it? I just think 2024 is going to be one of those years where I hope it goes in the right direction. We will do everything that we can for it to go in the right direction, but change is definitely in the air.
I feel like it's going to be big in both directions. It's going to be a very big year for Bitcoin. There's so much happening. I mean, whatever you think, it doesn't really matter what you think in the ETF. You can't stop it. So they're coming with the impact of that. We've got a halving. We've got an election cycle. We've got a macro cycle. There's so much happening. But I also think that the more successful it is, the bigger the opposing voices get. I say that. I think actually the last 6 months, I feel like there's been a shift. I feel like there's been some actually pretty good pro-factual work done by journalists. I mean, even the thing, was it The Economist who came out? They called it a cockroach. I mean, firstly, it was kind of like a backhand compliment. It's like, you can't kill this thing. No, you can't. That's the point. So I feel like the tide is turning.
It is. I mean, we've had the KPMG reports, the IRS reports. There's so much coming out, and there's one last project that I'm involved in. So when the very first Bitcoin event I went to, it was called the Citadella. So it was a real grassroots in Switzerland. And I walked in there nervous as heck, thinking, here I am, 50-plus-year-old woman. What am I doing in this group of young developers? It was awesome. I had the best weekend. And I was looking around the room thinking, there's so much brain in this room. They can't all be wrong. But there were no women. There were literally no women. I think there were maybe 5 of a group of... So last year in November, I was at another conference at the Bitcoin Hotel and there were 5 women. And I said to the women, if I was to put on a conference just for women, would you think that was good? Would you come? And oh yes, it was, And at the same conference, I met Chris, who then it transpired that I would start working full-time for Chris. But I said to Chris, listen, I've promised that I'm going to put on this conference for women and I want to do that. And then all my time and attention. So with a group of women, we set up this organization called Les Femmes Oranges, which means the orange women in French. The name comes from this picture of this gorgeous femme fatale woman who's walking down the stairs and she's got a Bitcoin bag. And you've got all the central bankers down at the bottom trying to give them their currency, but she's not interested. She's got the Bitcoin. So we put on our first event at the Bitcoin Hotel last January. We decided along the way we wouldn't make it only for women because there's plenty of men who are maybe also not, and I know I'm generalizing here, but if you've got the bell curve, you'll tend to find that the men are more interested in things and the women are more interested in people. So you need to address the subjects that get the emotions and get the hearts of the women. But there are men who also feel more comfortable in that environment. So men are not banned from it, but we say, if you want to come, bring a woman. Because you need to keep the ratio. You need to have more women in the room because what you tend to find is men will take over and women allow this, this to happen. If you've got a speaker up there and it's a male speaker, everybody will direct their questions. If it's a female one, there'll be much more conversation going on in the room. So we did this conference last January. 70% women. We now put that on twice a year. And we've also started a meetup like the 21 to decentralize, just set up a meetup, a book club, a walking club in your city, and it's growing. And my thesis is 100% Satoshi Nakamoto is a man. I'm sorry, he's a man. And men have done incredible work to get Bitcoin where it is. They have conceived Bitcoin. And a woman's strength is in nurturing.
Okay.
It is.
No, I love this.
This is what we do best.
You're going to stop us fucking it up.
Yes. We are going to take this wonderful thing that men have created and we're going to make it acceptable to society.
Okay.
And if we can wake the women up, and the women are waking up, and you need to women on the whole don't tend to be interested in technology. Don't show me your gadgets. Yeah. But tell me, like for me with Check Your Financial Privilege, why do I need Bitcoin? Why do my children need Bitcoin? And why does society need Bitcoin? And once you get women on board, they're the ones who control the purse strings in a lot of situations. Yeah. They are the ones who are making decisions. Financial independence is a massive topic for women. I've had 4 children, so you have a great big time when you're not working, and I'm very proud of my mother role. And, you know, I think that we've come to a society that no longer values the mother role.
But it makes you vulnerable.
It makes you completely vulnerable. And you need, I'm sorry, and this is going, everyone's going to go, oh, you're anti-sexist. I'm not anti-sexist. I'm a realist that if I'm at home with my children, and I want to be at home bringing up my children, because I believe for my children, that's what I want, I need somebody to protect me. And I need someone to look after me. And I'm going to be in a financially negative position if I don't work.
Rachel, I'm a single man, and I've told this on the podcast. I had a date with a girl, and she was back at my house, and she was like asking about the podcast, and I got up on the TV. I just went up on the YouTube, and I was scanning through it. She's like, it's all just dudes. Yeah. I was like, okay. I was like, it's not. She's like, yeah, but it's mainly dudes. I was like, why does that matter? She's like, I'm divorced. And when I got divorced, my ex-husband took all the money and hid everything from me, and he fucked me. I do not trust financial advice from men. I want it from women.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to have more women on the podcast. Every trip we do, we purposely seek out to try and, it's not balanced, but we try and seek to have more, not for any kind of woke agenda. It's just it's an important thing to do. People want to hear from the people they recognize.
If you recognize the person at the table, and I mean, this is with Les Femmes Orange, I mean, I notice that because we do Bitcoin education made by women, so we try and have as many women on the stage as possible. In fact, we try not to have a stage. Women like discussion. You know, we'll have maybe one topic of conversation, have it in a circle, and it's not biggest is best. You know, this thing of, we want to have the biggest conference. No, have small, intimate that. If I'm on the stage somewhere and you say at the end, has anybody got any questions? You can rest assured no woman will ask a question. If I come off the stage, they'll all come up and they'll ask their questions.
Of course.
They've got hundreds of questions, but they don't want to ask it, and they don't want to make a fool of them. They're always worried about making a fool of themselves. And you know what I'm loving?
They should start a podcast. I made a career of it.
Yeah, so we've got more and more women doing podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, we need this. But I mean, to be fair, women are flipping busy. If you're working and if you've got children and you're looking after your parents, and I mean, I remember when Patrick, you know, he put in the family chat, here's a fantastic podcast, and I'd go, Patrick, it's 2 hours long. Who's got 2 hours to watch a podcast? I've got to do this. You know, we have less time. We don't focus on things in the same way because we've got a million things going on in our mind at the same time. So you need podcasts which are 20 minutes long. A friend of mine is just starting one up in Germany, 21 minutes a podcast, just to get these, what do you need to know? Keep it short and sharp. What we find with the Les Femmes Orange, show them how it works. So we'll have a lightning game around the table that just set up a lightning wallet, whiz those sats around the table. Oh my gosh, I can do this. There's a website in Germany called coinpages.io, and it lists all of the places where you can spend Bitcoin, spend sats.
Love it.
It's fantastic. And so you say, okay, listen, I've just put 20 euros on there's 20 euros of sats. Go to that cafe and see if you can spend it. They have this feeling of success. I can do this. And if they think that they can do it, then they'll look into it, and then you'll be open to it. But don't frighten them with, if you don't self-custody your, it's frightening, and it puts you off and you're not going to do it. So
you're
what's your end goal?
Yeah, you're preaching to the converted. It's why we've had, what's his, Ben DeWall's daughter on our show.
Oh, she's Samantha.
Samantha's incredible.
Isn't she fantastic? Do you know she speaks German? She's been on German podcasts. Yeah.
Do you know the funny thing about her is, right? Obviously, she can come on the show. It's great. Come to meet her. I didn't realize how freaking good she was going to be. I played it to my daughter. My daughter would listen because she recognized her. When I get all those mad I like the libertarians, but the kind of the mad libertarian Americans who shout at me like, you're a lefty, you're a European soft lefty. It's like, listen, firstly, I'm not. But secondly, I want the podcast to appeal to people in Europe as well. And they think very different from the right in America or the libertarian side of Americans. So we want to get as many different people from 100%. Different backgrounds and on this podcast to appeal to as many people as possible. Because the one thing we can all agree on is inflation is terrible. It's a cancer on society, and we'd like to have a hard money that doesn't debase. We can all agree on that. Yep. So let's try and bring people in.
And so how do we get there? And so what you'll notice with the women is we are brilliant at networking.
Yes.
We are brilliant at networking. So I came to your Edinburgh, well, you were at the Edinburgh. It wasn't your, it was Jordan put that together, didn't he? Fantastic. fantastic. And there was one woman on the team who was called Krista Edmonds.
Yes.
And she, out of the blue, contacted me in May and asked if I would be prepared to go on her podcast. And she's got this fantastic platform called Access Tribe, which is also more aimed at professional women who are working in Bitcoin, want to work in Bitcoin, setting up businesses, etc., etc. And then through her, I've got to know so many people who now there's an Italian woman who's helping at Terahash to, you know, it's such a small world. And I mean, in fact, that brings me to this. Look at this.
Hold up.
Hold up. Do you know this?
No.
So this is just to show the power of the network. This is an American company, and they would like to get this game into Germany because Germany has got this prize every year, you know, the game of the year. It's a fantastic game for learning about mining.
Do you know what I think people need to do a bit more? Love this. Someone should do a game about money where Bitcoin's part of it.
Yes. Yeah.
But kind of essentially gaslight them into realizing Bitcoin is the best. Because
this is how you'll bring it in through the back door. So we were playing this. My son and I were playing this. You learn about the difficulty rate. You learn about hashes. You learn about nonces. You learn about this, that, and the other. But you're playing a game. And one of this here. Look at this. This is. Do you know what this is?
No. Look at all this stuff.
This is Germany. This is not Germany. This is America. This is a nerd miner. And it's made specially for you.
Oh my God! Look at that. What Bitcoin did.
Plug this in.
Yes.
It takes next to no electricity. Obviously, you're hashing with next to no hash.
But you never know.
And you never know.
Imagine you did actually mine a block.
And yeah, if you did, you got a 6.25. But you're learning about the block. And it's so easy. Literally, you plug it, you attach to the Wi-Fi.
This will end up in my daughter's bedroom, by the way.
Fantastic. And if it gets your daughter interested in mining. So we need to use all games, playing, conversations, not just technology is great and I'm not dissing it. And it's incredible what has been achieved in the last 15 years. It's incredible.
Yes.
Very grateful for it. And now, come on, women, up the game, pull your socks up, learn about it, and get out and let's spread this wonderful technology for the benefit of humankind.
Right. Well, listen, tell people where to go. How do they support you? How do they follow you?
So I'm on Twitter. I don't even know what my Twitter handle is.
That's such a mum thing to say.
I honestly hate social media. I think it's the biggest bane. But Twitter, social media, that's where I learned about Bitcoin. So it's Geyer Rachel or something. We'll put it in the notes. We've got lesfemmesorange.work, but that's very German speaking. But that's for at the moment. But we are going international. Please, EBEA.work. You can already send an email if you want to support. So at welcome@ebea.work to pledge your support. But we'll be looking for as much help as we can. Terahash.space. If you're a company who wants to look into can you incorporate Bitcoin mining in your work, please come and. And I have got one last gift.
Oh my God, endless gifts. I know it's like it's Christmas, yeah. Look
at this. London Dry Gin.
There we go.
Terahash. We brew our own gin. And this is our mother company, the Klager Group. So yeah.
God, I've never had so many Christmas presents in one hit.
I know. Wasn't it perfect that it was after Christmas?
You can come on again. You can come on again. Rachel, I can't believe how much stuff you're doing. It's amazing. We're here to help you. Stay in touch. Keep crushing it. And I'll see you in Bedford in April.
See you in Bedford in April. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.